Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Just Roll It Already. I'm your host, Daryl.
I'm your other host, Jeremiah.
And I'm the rules lawyer, John.
Welcome to Game Talk. This time we will be talking about homebrewing. Systems, roles, whatever. You know what? Take it away, somebody. It's a house rule.
Homebrewing. When it comes to homebrewing, to me, creation of items. I love to create items. That is the biggest part of homebrewing for me. Creating fun, exciting artifact type of items. Like a sort of beam of energy sword. Not anything to do with any sort of franchise pertaining to any war around stars. None of that. But a beam of energy that also happens to be a blade that's wielded in a hand, and giving that, rules for that to be used in a D&D game.
Yeah, it may in fact be colored.
Yeah, it may in fact be multicolored.
Cut through almost anything.
Yeah, it goes off of touch AC. Does a D6 and a D4 of fire damage, something along those lines. Yeah.
Energy based, holy, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Force. Yeah. Force based, you might say, like a magic missile.
Yeah. Well, homebrewing in a positive connotation for creativity is good, but I have a question that kind of came to my mind. What happens when it starts taking over a game to the point that it's no longer the same game you're playing anymore? Example, you're playing your said favorite game. Pathfinder, D&D, World of Darkness, Phase, Anima, you name it. Any game that you're playing, and then suddenly you start changing rules here and there, little by little, and eventually it comes to the point that it's no longer the same game. It's just your own collection of rules, and it's just...
Now, we're talking about specifically the mechanics of a game, not necessarily the way the world works as rules.
Well, you can also do that for established settings, but...
Well, sure, but that's up to people making their own settings, and that happens all the time.
Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah,
But when you
story.
change the mechanics of a game, you're going against the core principle of the game, which it is designed around balance. It may seem unbalanced at the time that somebody reads it. However, if you delve further into most rules, you'll find that they're actually it makes a lot of sense. For instance, what was it? The grapple system in 3.5? So obtuse. It was like, if you're small, you get a -4. If you're large, you get a +2.
It was a hand-wavy rule.
Yeah, it was basically like what CMB and CMD are in Pathfinder. I think they did it better.
Of course they did. It's more defined. It's simple and straightforward.
But the grapple system made sense if you knew it.
Okay, yes, but it's too complicated to the point, and a lot of people didn't use it. Okay,
For the layman.
And it's...
The layman.
Yes.
Okay, I've homebrewed small things in games that I found a little bit too cumbersome or tiresome to keep track of. When I played Pathfinder for a while, before I even bothered with experience points, I made my own little point system that says when you reach these many points, you're up a level. You show up, that's a point. You do well in combat, that's a point. You have a magnificent failure and your character grows from it, you get a point. It goes up to like 5-6 points at one thing, and you go up to 10. Yeah, it's a fast, rapid growth, but hey, it's a character.
Well, actually, I call this the fittest paradigm because it was...
Daryl invented it, though.
Yeah, but I was introduced to it by Tylee. And
Yeah.
that's who...
Okay, Edison. I'm gonna call Kylie Edison now. You know,
But he, what
poor
it is...
Daryl's over there like Tesla.
It's your level plus 10.
Hey, no, I am Tesla Hughes.
Yes, yeah.
Story for that later. Not ever gonna be told.
But it's like your level plus 10, and then
He took what I did and he tried to improve upon it. Poorly, but he improved upon it.
But I like that because the high numbers in RPGs can kind of be arbitrary. Like you need 21,000.
When you think about it, when you read if you actually take differences in leveling, it's really just what it was before, but slightly increased.
But however, it does also that high amount of experience does because of differing monsters experience, and I don't give you experience based off monster encounters. I give off how you play in the game. So
Well, yeah, I understand. But I'm talking about the original established XP system was. It's actually in the actual game. It's actually you're only going up 1,000, then you're going up 12,000 from that, and you're going 1,200 from that, and you're going up 1,400 from that. So in essence, if you just do the math, cut off the zeros, it's really the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you could look at it that way.
People
I know
feel
you do a reset system, so it does it new and new.
Yeah, but that's just me changing. Talking about that whole XP thing, that's me changing one small detail. Everything was pretty much the same. But what would happen if I suddenly say, instead of a D20, let's use a D10?
I shoot you.
If instead of using all these random events of dice numbers, let's have everything as a static because your strength is always constant, and let's just say a weapon's still a weapon.
That's actually been explicitly stated in the game, in a lot of the game manuals, but no one ever reads that part. There is a point in 3.5 when you read about strength. It's like if one person has strength 18 and someone has 16, the 18's always going to win.
Okay.
In contest of strength.
Okay.
Because he's just stronger. That's what the stats are for.
Okay, but saying things are more static. Damage is static.
You're talking about like something like 4ed.
Yeah,
or,
a weapon does
Wars.
one straight up. Okay, a dagger does
like
1 point
if
of
it
damage
hits, it
plus your
does-
strength
Okay.
if you hit. Regardless, everything is still the same, and it's just that. And instead of worrying about all these hit points of various classes, let's just say everyone's a D6, because why on earth would a fighter have more hit points than a wizard, even though they're pretty much the same creature?
Because he's been eating Wheaties and steaks his entire life and like lifting cows.
Okay, so I stab you in the chest, John, and you're a barbarian. You have a D12 hit die. I stab Jeremiah. He's a wizard. He's a D4 hit die. Well, guess what? Jeremiah will die faster than you.
Yeah, you stab me, I look at you, and I just like run at you because my barbarian DR says no and says make no damage, and it's through my shoulder. And it's like in your eye.
Say from like a biological standpoint of like,
but
you got
let's-
stab the heart.
But
Well, wizard's
I'm-
heart is just
okay.
yeah.
Okay, everyone's just as frail as the next person, but that's just something that.
But that's not the case. That's
But no. Here, I'm just saying, I'm house ruling here, John. I'm house ruling to
This
the
is
point it
homebrewing.
drives you crazy. This is
Yeah.
homebrewing.
You are basically just like a deck of many things. That's a thing I will never allow in a game. Is a deck of many things.
That's your house rule, not mine.
Well, it
More
should be-
random, the better. Shield of Wonder, Sword of Wonder, Wand of Wonder.
No.
Deck of many
no.
things.
Deck of many things.
I do
It's
it-
like
I do
suddenly
it-
your game
The
is no
bag
longer
of
your
mystery.
game. No, it's no longer your game anymore. Everyone is a plant. It's erotically charged. And this is what your deck has wrought.
I do a deck of many things, but it's always the Joker card. So it's just the death card every time.
Oh, yeah,
A deck
but-
of many deaths.
Yeah. Okay, but going back to my analogy here, we're saying this is Pathfinder, but it's no longer to the point that I cannibalize it, Frankenstein it to the point that it's no longer Pathfinder. Do you think that's going too far to say?
way
that-
too far.
Then it's a house ruled, home brewed gaming.
It's actually, I don't even think it's homebrew. Well, it's actually, it is homebrew, but it's not Pathfinder anymore. It's the game you're making. We're playtesting your game.
We're
at this
playing.
point.
We're playing Daryl Finder.
Yeah, exactly.
1.0.
I found him. I win.
No, like one thing I have been contemplating.
Dungeons
like,
and Daryl. There you go.
yeah, nice. I
Daryl's
like it.
and dungeons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost sounds kinky, but what I like is I want to homebrew poison, because poison, it does a stat. Now I like how it does damage stats, but sometimes I want a poison that does straight up damage.
Guess what?
Like you just
That's pretty much what the ruling of poisons are in general. Yeah, there's poisons and certain things that they say make like rules on poisoning, but it doesn't mean you follow it.
yeah.
Okay, if it's a poison that does damage straight up, it's no longer a poison; it's an acid.
Exactly, and that's, to me, it's like, well, and you can't really cure acid or help with acid.
But if
Like-
you want something that can do damage that's similar to a poison, try a toxin or a venom. Okay, example, point.
Something
brown-
natural versus something man-made.
Yeah, like a brown recluse. Okay, that thing bites you. Yeah, it's a toxin. Well, guess what it does? It rots your skin away. It's doing physical damage to you.
Necrosis over
Yeah,
a couple
necrosis.
turns.
Okay. Well, yeah, there you go. I instantly fixed your house ruling problem. But that's just coming from a guy who used to house rule all the time.
It'd be cool as hell to have the ability to bite somebody and use a brown recluse venom.
Okay.
Now that I think about that.
Or actually, here's a house rule.
Like real life, not in games. Bite somebody, rot their flesh.
Here's a homebrew we've talked about before that I like to do. At a certain height, you just die from falling.
Yeah.
I always like talking about falling for some reason. But at a certain height, I
Yeah,
don't even roll
the
fall
be-
damage anymore.
But the best way to calculate that is actually use the system. It's 10 feet plus the number of dice at average it would take to kill them at max health.
So does it actually say that on a rulebook?
No.
But that would be a homebrew that I would use.
Yeah, because it sounds legit, right?
It does.
Because on average, if you roll that many dice, it'd be roughly that same amount of damage, and if it's maximum, it kills you. So if
Okay.
a person has 40 health, and it's D6, that's, three threes across the board. So, that'd be 120. It'd be actually 120. Well, how am I saying 120 feet? Yeah, about 120, 140 feet will kill you.
Yeah, like that would be, and you don't even roll
Guaranteed.
it.
There's
you don't,
no way you survive.
You don't roll it unless there's some Deus Ex Machina that
But if you
saves
fall
you.
40 feet, you still got to roll it.
Yeah, because
Okay. Well, as game masters, all of us here, our job is very simple. Everyone should know this. A game master is the interpreter and keeper of the rules. He can choose the rules that he wishes to use and excommunicate those he doesn't wish to use. That's just this is a game of what I find hard to talk about role playing at times is all of the subjective and personal viewpoints of role playing. It's not like a video game which is finite mechanics and everything that you can't change. This is a game of creativity, and creativity spawns insanity and chaos.
Yeah, true.
And
but in the good sense or bad sense?
both,
Like,
but there's this is neither good nor evil. We're talking about saying somebody taking to the point that saying, okay, I tell you we're playing Eclipse Phase. Instantly, you look at the book, you buy the book, or you buy the PDF, or you borrow the book from me and you read it for an entire month, and we're planning the whole thing. We're ready to go. We're just like, okay, let's do this, and instantly you have a character written up. You know the rules, you know the combat system. And I'm using BRP, basic roleplay. It's a rule system.
Oh,
I have never actually seen that.
It's a percentile game similar to the Call of Cthulhu and Eclipse Phase, but it's a little bit more ground down, and you know nothing about this.
It's generalized, so you could use it to any kind of setting.
Yes, it's general. It's like GURPS. It's like Savage World. It's like any other just system
to make your own RPG with.
Okay, I own Savage World. I don't own BRP, nor do I own GURPS. Someday I have a feeling that's going to show up on my doorstep and it says, "With love from John, please read so you can run me in GURPS."
GURPS. I'll give you riffs.
Yeah, but
People hate life.
But now that's an example though. He chopped one game and mixed it with another kind of system to actually get,
Or let's just do something more horrific. Let's take Eclipse Phase and fuse it with Shadows of Starin.
Or Shadows of Starin.
Okay, Shadows of Starin. That is not designed for anything. I'm suddenly telling you to play a futuristic game with a lot of complex overtones and undertones, and suddenly place you in a game that is not as finite.
Those are both pretty rule-heavy games too. Like that. That's
Shadows
a lot
of Starin? No, it is not.
Well, it's more like World of Darkness, but you take Eclipse Phase and then you're just adding more rules into Eclipse Phase. To me, that's a lot of reading.
We're jamming all these weird things together and saying, the dreaded Franken game.
Yeah.
I don't like the stat system in Pathfinder, so I'm going to use Chin of Warring States. I like the dice system in Dragon Age, but
Franken game.
Franken game, but
we should publish that.
I'm sure somebody's...
Franken game. You take every system, and it's actually you roll a D percentile on one page to pick which dice type you use, and then you roll a D20 on the next page, and it just alternates in it's like a D4 of these options.
So you're taking the basic concept of rifts, and then we're
taking rifts and we're turning out its head, and we're making it even more random.
Chimera.
But it's actually taking the rifts books, and instead of playing a game, we're making a system, and then you play a system,
and then you play the game,
and then you pick a game and you play it with that system.
Okay.
Franken game.
Game.
That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate homebrew right there. That is the epitome of.
But that comes to the point. You look at it and you say, "Well, I'm using."
I don't know what dice to roll anymore. Shut up and roll. You just throw all the dice.
But I have to say,
it's not enough dice. You only have 7.
Is that actually homebrewing? Because at that point, you're not changing the game. Because you're not even using that game anymore.
No, wait. Let me put it in a better way. You are playing the game because it's Franken game, and Franken game is to chop other games up and put it together to make the crazy game.
I have a suspicion somebody's going to make this now. Oh well.
If you do send it,
please. If you make a Franken game, send it.
Copyrighted 2013 August 14th.
August 13th.
13th, yeah, copyrighted. Just rolled already. Enterprise.
Esquire LLC.
Yeah.
Incorporated.
It's now ours.
TM.
Yeah. Gotta ask for permission.
RM.
Royalties.
Registered trademark.
Okay, but we're gonna look at this and
patent pending.
But that's a game that actually has rules into it, because the rules are random, but they're still rules. We're saying, and that's just within the game itself. We're taking a game that we like and changing it to the point that it's no longer a game. When I say Dungeons and Dragons, you think D20. Well, you show up to play D20 games, and we're using a D10 game or a percentile game.
You're using like World of Darkness system, like just throw all these
Here's
D10s.
the thing.
Yeah.
There's a very vital essence that I don't think we're getting at when we talk about homebrewing. Think about Gygax when he first invented, the original D&D.
It is a homebrew.
Right.
Because
it was
he-
him sitting around. He's like, what if I was a wizard? It's like, that'd be cool. And like, there's a dwarf. And it's like, but how do you... And it's like, well, I'm going to slay your dragon. It's like, well, how are we going to determine this? And it's like, fine, here's a D6. We'll roll a D6.
No,
and it's like,
he
was
probably
started with the D6 because that was the first.
I know he did, but he started playing with miniatures.
It's all about like if
like
that's where the homebrew starts with, and then it's like past the homebrew and well, I don't even say homebrew, but past the creativity
concept
phase, the concept phase, you have to come up with a way to determine the outcome and try to be as specific and as random as possible, because there's all sorts of abilities or sorts of outcomes you can have.
Because homebrew, it's not really the story that you're changing; it's more the system, the rules.
Yeah.
It comes down to homebrew. It's the rules that you're fiddling with. That's the reason I'm bringing that up right now specifically is you're saying past the concept phase, and to those out there, never confuse your own story, like you've made your own story, as a homebrew. It's always the rules when it comes down to homebrew. Like
homebrewing is like a pound of copper is not going to cost a silver. It's going to cost 10 silver because in this world...
Weight.
Yeah.
It's sold by the pound.
Exactly. Whatever. I use the metric system.
Yeah, metric system. Yeah,
Well,
we go base 100, not base 10. Screw your logic.
Yeah, we're not going to use the deca system.
And that totally throws off inflation.
It does, yeah.
It does.
Well, the metric system is more accurate, but we use the...
British system. The English system.
English standard system.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we love to screw with the entire world.
But, that's part of homebrewing, though, is like, it's more the rules. Like, well, you want to change it. And then there's always the one rule, which, can you change it? The golden rule? Can you homebrew the golden rule? It's in its own...
I don't know. Can you?
It's like trying to kill a god. Like, how do you kill that that's immortal? It's almost
How do you kill that which has no life?
It's like this almost like
Because to
philosophical...
be a DM, you truly have to have no life.
It's like a
I
philosophical
have a life,
question.
and I'm a GM.
Can you homebrew the golden rule?
But how much do you DM now? You got on your back burner.
I just finished running games for a while, so let's
Yeah,
just...
I know.
I had GM burnout. That's my problem.
Yeah. A lot of it is trying to be creative.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
take...
that and player showing up. That's a different thing. That's
I
one
just...
thing. Than the other.
But we'll save that for later. That's on a back burner. Ah, gosh.
So homebrewing really isn't a... It's not a matter of...
Is it right or wrong? It's more in the
Yeah.
lines of when do you stop if you're going to say, hey, we're playing this game.
Like, it's appropriate at times.
Yeah.
It should be made beforehand and be discussed with the players prior to playing. It's not... Again, it goes to consistency, and it should not be something that interferes with actual normal gameplay.
I say take your consistency and shove it, because
You need consistency.
I don't know. I'm not consistent when
You
I
need to be
do.
consistent with your randomness.
But we can take the consistency. Yeah, the consistency is important to you all the time, John. And I can say you can just keep it to yourself when it comes to
Yeah,
consistency.
but what are the
because
players going to think?
I don't know.
But I have to...
I don't care.
Like 30 people versus you. Come on, it's like if they think you're wrong, they all eyeball you and they just beat you down in a parking lot.
But what?
Suck of nipples.
But then again, I am the
course, I
king
can't
of
really
my
do it too
realm.
well,
Therefore,
'cause
I am law. And if you try to go against my law, I reign supreme.
So I need to reiterate what John said, though, is do let your players know ahead of time. That is something like very important. If you
Like,
are going to...
no, I'm sorry, we're not using gold or any sort of currency. You use thought waves.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like, if you are going to do some serious, like, rules jacking and, messing with, really make sure you tell somebody ahead of time, because there's nothing worse than someone's like, I'm going to be, like, they work a week straight on their, like, every day they get home from school or work, they're immediately just working on their character. They put 48 hours into scribbling out their character, and the DM's like...
I don't even put that much time.
But
I'm sorry to say,
I know,
put that
but
much time in.
I've known people who do that, and they're like, they write a whole story about, and they're like, oh, by the way, there's like, we don't have this or that, and it's like their whole character's ruined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So you gotta, like, if you're gonna be a player and you don't know if they're gonna do something like that, you want to kind of shoot off the cuff. But if you're not good at asking off or shooting off the cuff, you gotta ask your DM if he's going to homebrew anything.
Yeah, kind of like when I homebrewed the economy. Hey, John, guess what? How many ducats are in a Florence?
How many ducks are in a Florence?
Ducats in a florin.
Oh, ducats in a florin. It's like 28.7 or something like that.
No,
What?
it was 67.
67. Oh yeah, 67 ducats in a florin.
And that's because you like your consistency. In an irrelevant game, you had to know.
Yeah. Well, it's not irrelevant.
And guess what? I
will
didn't know
pay-
myself.
But now I'm going to use that metric. I'm going to use that as a metric for other games where we're going to have ducats and florins.
I'm going to pay this suit of
Then
armor
pence.
with a hammock of butter.
Yes. No. Wait, you said a hammock full of butter?
Yeah.
But what happens if you have the endless butter stick?
A
And it's-
desk of M&Ms.
A dust of
A desk of M&Ms. Who gets these? Who gets these measurements?
That's how you barter.
A hammock of butter.
I will trade 3 jelly beans for your 2.5 dogs.
And yeah, you have to butcher a dog. But see, that's homebrew in itself for an economy.
Okay, homebrewing. Okay, anywhere from a small amount of homebrewing, from something so simple as well, not so simple, but something simple and finite as small little details in the rules, to the exponentially vast entirety of the book. Well, just don't say you're playing this game. Just say here's a compilation of rules I created that I think is good. Because if I'm asked to play Werewolf the Apocalypse and I walk in and we're using some crazy rule system I never known, I'm like, oh great, I'm screwed.
Also, I think we haven't mentioned this yet, but the most important part about homebrewing is know what you're talking about first before you start homebrewing.
Yeah. Know your system before you start tweaking with it. It's like, oh, well, I'm using a D20. Well, that's not going to work for combat. Throws hands into air.
Static, everything.
No,
John
no.
goes crazy.
Here's the thing, like even like if you don't know your system and you change something very subtle, like you think, oh, it's just a little tweak, it's not gonna make that big of a deal.
It's going to make a huge difference.
Like, oh, you know what, paladins, instead of requiring to be lawful good, how about they can just be like neutral? And now you've just destroyed like a bunch of their how their spells work and how like a bunch of things that
Yeah,
the
because
coattail.
they're specifically meant to be like
Lawful based.
You gotta
Yeah.
gotta go out and seek evil and kill it.
Yeah, but or there's spells that are like lawful based, or there's things that are based off the curtail of that. Like there's spells designed for looking for lawful good paladins. But now that doesn't work. You have to change a lot more now. But if you change that one thing and you didn't change anything else, you will probably run into some hiccups later on down the road.
But
so-
what is the law? What is lawful and what is good?
That's a morality question, but it is clearly defined in Dungeons and Dragons. Like in Dungeons and Dragons, it's like or any okay
No, we're gonna
fantasy settings.
Let's
It's clearly defined.
let me put it this way. Okay, lawful. What is the laws of the land? What is good? What is the seen as a positive connotation in the
I think
society?
we've
It's
covered
always-
this topic before, haven't we?
Yes, we have, but I'm simply saying you house rule that because that's
Yeah.
what you view it as.
Morals. That is very
House,
true. Because
house
morals
ruling
are
morals.
dictated by the society, and the DM himself is the society. He's
True.
every man, woman, and child. Therefore, what's the societal norms are?
But what happens when when a single DM can become every man, woman, and child, not simply he is?
that's
Profoundness.
Yeah, that's philosophy
Take it
right
to heart.
there.
Take it to heart. Just saying.
But no, that's true. Like it's based off of the DM's call when it comes to morality, because all of us have a different skewed view of what morality is.
There's a different skew of everything, but when it comes to homebrewing, their GM skews everything.
Yeah.
And I am not innocent of it. I don't even think there's a single GM in the world that is innocent of it. I even seen you house rule some things, John. Hand wave a few things.
Like
I don't know. It was a blue moon ago.
I don't house rule. I'll tell. I do house rule as far as my campaign is concerned. I do make
house rule?
mistakes.
You house ruled.
No.
You can submit it.
See this finger? It's making slow, tiny orbiting movements while I point at you. Just for everyone who can't see what I'm doing, I am waggling my finger at him while pointing. So now, and it's in small, random circular motions. This is not house ruling. I did not house rule. What I did was for the setting, created events. Now that's how I homebrew. Is I use events, and like you said, GM, direct intervention. But I never did it to influence the outcome of something. It was simply to keep the party together, keep them in understanding of what's going on around them, because that's a big issue for a lot of players.
Of course.
So, house ruling something, or it's not even house ruling, it's just home brewing something to create a mechanic outside of the actual mechanics. Like, if they do this, then this. That sort of thing.
So
it's like a grand overarching bubble around it.
So let's round up this topic right here. Now we're going to have the two roundups in two different ways. Setting homebrew and rules homebrews. What is acceptable, what is too far? So we'll start with Jeremiah.
All right.
Summary.
Nope. What I have to reiterate, know your system. When you're homebrewing a system, know it through and through. Because if anybody's ever to homebrew anything, they need to be the most gruffest rules lawyer of all, which is contradictory to what a rules lawyer is.
I'm pretty gruff. I have a beard.
Which is pretty contradictory to what a rules lawyer is. They don't want to homebrew. They want to go to the rules. But I would say to homebrew, to its effectiveness, be a rules lawyer so you can know the ramifications of your actions. That's the biggest thing I can say when it comes to that for the setting. For the rules. I think that comes both into setting and rules. Just know them through and through before you start tweaking or twerking anything.
Okay.
Okay, so for a setting homebrew, go for it. Just go for it.
Yeah, go
Make
insane.
your setting as crazy, as whacked out as you want. I want to create magical trees that grow apples. These apples act like an endless ration bag. But the players don't know that. But I may use it in another campaign, but people here may not know. Okay, so anyway. The point is, I will want to be as whacked out as far as setting go, so you just create to your heart's content, but make sure it's fleshed out. Make sure everything's there. Don't let something open to interpretation, because that leads to having a homebrew in the middle of the game, and that'll just mess you up. As far as rules go, I'd say stay as strict to the rules as you can.
Okay, for my magical little gubbins this time. Now, I will agree for the first time in a long time with John about the setting. Insanity and chaos in settings is awesome. I like the old adage, out of chaos comes order. Because, let's just face it, this world will eventually make sense.
Entropy!
Yay! But we as game masters create. We forge everything. Just because John's a rules lawyer doesn't mean he lacks creativity and individuality. He's not that dry. And Jeremiah...
In fact, I'm quite wet.
Yeah, and Jeremiah, you make insane settings all the time. I make unique settings, and sometimes I just go with it and say, whatever, generic. Because it works that way. But sometimes you can just go mad and off the hinges as much as you want. I think that's fun. But as far as homebrewing rules and like changing things, I have to say, if you're saying you're going to... My biggest piss off I've always had, if you're saying you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you're tweaking small rules, in your opinion, do it with a grain of salt and a very small amount. Because if you suddenly change everything, it drives me crazy.
It's not D&D anymore.
No, it's not. And you could just call it my game. And my game, I am the rule. Because it's all up in here. I do not write it down. It is called my game.
You should write it down.
No.
Tell it for the aeons to come. They will look upon your works and weep.
Well then, I think that...
and it's like, oh my god, this man truly had creativity in a point where, we've all become essentially an amalgamated mass of computers linked together because all of
unoriginality.
Unoriginality is, it's going to kill us all. It's going to doom us all. Be original, people. I'm just saying, no, seriously, be creative.
Yes, be creative. Okay, I think that was going to do this for this episode.
Don't succumb to the man. Don't let him tell you how to rule your life. Sorry.
Power to the proletariat.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go to Gmail, just roller@gmail.com. I'm Daryl.
I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm John. Just to reiterate, that's justrollitheadready@gmail.com.
The
Proletariat.